Hi everyone, it's Christina again from Christina Lisa Photography. I wanted to do a tutorial today on how to insert frame or how to insert pictures or your own images into styled frames. So what we will start with is something like this, um, and take it to something like this. And we'll probably only do one of the photos today because there are a couple of different ways I want to show you, but I don't want to make this too long. So we'll start with our image here, and this is the type of image you would receive if you purchased one of the styled stock frames that I make. You'd get this picture of the frames, but the area in the middle is empty or grayed out. So the first thing I like to do is make a copy of the background, and I like to zoom in pretty close just so that you can get an idea of where the corners are. So what I do for that, I take my polygon lasso tool and I try to get in pretty close to where the corners are, sort of as accurately as I can. It doesn't have to totally be 100% perfect because you are going to add some effects on it to give it some depth. So there we go. I probably would have done this a little closer if I were doing it again, but for the purpose of showing you, that's how I make my selection. And now that I have that selected, I'm going to open a picture I want to put in there. So I have this image open. I'm going to do a Control A and Control C to copy it. And I'm going to go back to Photoshop. And up here in the Edit menu, sometimes I don't think the screen capture gets the Photoshop menu, but I'm under Edit, and I'm going to go to Paste Special, and then I will use Paste Into. And that gets the picture I want in the frame. So that is obviously too big of a picture for the frame opening. So I'm doing a Control T to transform the size of the image, and I'm going to hit this little lock to keep the aspect ratio the same. And let's see, so I'm shrinking that a bit. There we go. I mean, that looks pretty good. I don't need absolutely everything in there. So I'll hit return and save that transformation. And what I'll do, if you remember from my last videos, I like to do blending options, so it doesn't just look like a picture is sitting on top of a picture. I mean, it looks okay, but if anyone were to zoom in a little bit, I think they would be able to tell that it's definitely a mock-up and not quite as realistic looking. So I use the same techniques I used in one of my last videos, but I'll do actually two shadows this time because the way you determine your angle, for instance, this is the light coming from the left, so that's going to give me a shadow over here and over here, which will leave this side looking like there's not really any dimension into it. And I'm going to make this a little stronger just so you can sort of see what I'm talking about. I'm going to add another shadow with the angle of light coming from sort of the reciprocal way. So then I will get a shadow on this side and down on the bottom here. So if I add opacity to that too, you're going to see it. And this one I made a little bit smaller just because the light is coming from the back and the sun was to the left. So this shadow, these shadows here are obviously going to be stronger than the dimension you see over here on the right and on the bottom because the lighting wouldn't have been quite as harsh. Even though it's minimal, it's still a little bit of a difference. So what I'll do, I'll bring that opacity down because that's just way, way, way too harsh, and I just wanted to do that to show you. So let's say about 16% there. And this one should maybe be just a tiny bit darker. Let's do 19% and see how that looks. That looks pretty good to me. The other thing you can do is add a gradient. I also like to add the gradient just to make it look realistic too. And again, I'm going to move the light, sort of imagining it was coming from the back left, um, and what you can do to make it, to see what you're really doing. Bring this scale down, and you can see that changing already in the photo. And you can also see this little preview area. It shows you what it's going to do. So if I change my angle, that's going to change the way that the shadow is going. So let's do something like that. And obviously I don't want it that harsh. I want it to be pretty subtle. So we just have a little bit of a change on the bottom part, and it looks like it's giving a little bit of a shadow up here too. And I'm lowering my opacity, and that just gives it, I'm going to make it pretty low actually because I don't like how it's making it pretty dark down there. It just gives it a little bit of more of a realistic look too, like you actually have a picture in the frame and not that you're taking a picture, a flat picture from your computer, putting it in another flat picture of a frame. So to me, that looks pretty realistic. And next week, we will work on adding an image to this frame. And this frame, you can't really tell just by looking at it, but when you work on it, it's a little askew. This one on the right was pretty straight on. And that's when I like to use this method, is for a very straight on photo frame, because if not, you can get sort of jagged edges using that lasso tool, and you can refine the edge a little bit, but for me it just takes a little more work than I want to be doing. It takes longer to refine the edge and get it looking right to me than just using this method or the next one I'll show you. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. This is just one of the ways you can insert your image into a frame mock-up. Next week we'll explore one other over here. And anyway, I look forward to seeing you. You can find these on my Etsy shop, Christina Elisa Images, Creative Market, Christina Elisa Photo, I believe, or PH. I'll have to look that up and write it down for you. And also my website, ChristinaElisaPhotography.com. I hope you enjoyed this and this was helpful. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.